my full name, is Balaram Stack. It's a Hindu first name with my grandfather's middle name and Irish last name.
Hail Mary is the merge of a documentary biopic and a traditional surf film. At his home in New York, we go behind the scenes and learn about the life of professional surfer Balaram Stack, perhaps one of the best surfers ever to come out of New York. Hail Mary pays homage to Balaram's roots and the one main guiding force in his life, his mother, Mary. Through childhood photos and home videos, the film illustrates the beautiful relationship between the two and shows the important bond that helped shape Balaram into becoming the incredible surfer he is today. Multi-award-winning independent filmmaker Ben Gulliver takes us on a beautiful cinematic journey that is Balaram's life. This is the Hail Mary podcast, a supplement to the upcoming film, where we dive a little deeper into the story of Balaram Stack and the people who have helped him along on his journey. I'm Tyler Brewer of the Swell Season Surf Podcast. On this episode, we follow the unlikely rise of Balaram from early grommethood to becoming a top-ranked amateur surfer and eventually being discovered by Quiksilver and becoming a marquee junior surfer for them. We explore the sacrifices and support from his mother Mary and the people who helped him along the way, such as Mike Nelson and Dave Juan at Unsound Surf Shop. We also get a glimpse into his initial taste of Hawaii, a place that would become key to his success as a professional surfer, and his reputation for being a top pipe specialist. We hope you enjoy episode 2 of the Hail Mary podcast.
He was already boogie boarding, Sebastian Inlet, and we're driving here, 1997, end of August, and we made him stand on a board in Daytona Beach, and then we came here, and then it started to get chilly, so I guess it was following summer, he was standing up and riding his boogie board. So he turned 6 shortly after we moved here. And then by the time he was 7, or the summer before, and he's standing up on the boogie board, his brothers decided he needed a surfboard. So they got him one then. He got a custom board when he was 7.
I don't know, it was always the first thing for any of us, it seemed, me and my brothers, and like my brothers were into it heavy by the time I got into it. So, it was always, I don't know, the beach thing was always there, and then surfing just came with it, kind of, and then snowball affected into more and more surf world things, getting into it, we knew nothing, my mom's never experienced a surf contest or a sponsor or anything of that nature, and we were pretty blind going into it.
He got his first surfboard at 7. He's learning how to surf. He's
looking up to his brothers.
The local crew were all adults. Mostly a summer thing. And in the winter, he was all about snowboarding, and that's kind of fun. And then this King of the Beach contest I saw a flyer for, and I went in the surf shop, and I was like, should he do it? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, Mary, you don't understand. People are coming in from the boardwalk saying, who's this kid? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're all cute, they're all little, and they all surf. There was a whole pack of them. you know, TJ and Richie and the whole Blondie crew. And like, you don't understand. I said, Nelly, what? And he goes, he knows how to read the wave. I said, read the wave? I can't get him to read a book and you're telling me he knows how to read the wave? What does that mean? He knows what the wave is going to do before the wave does it. He anticipates it.
To be perfectly honest, I have zero recollection of that kid until one day at Point Lookout, like he's saying, like the kid came out and surfed and like, yo, he was like this big. And like I was bored. I have a picture of him from the first day I've ever seen him. Duct tape around the front of his board, holding on the nose, brown as hell cannibal from, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Kid, what the cannibal from here.
Kid's just out there floating around. I have no idea until he takes off on a wave. And not that big, but it's like this big, but it's like, you know, like 2 foot overhead on him because he's so little. Drops in, full on square off the bottom, goes right up into it and like is gonna hit it and like the fins like completely falls, but like just you could just see the mechanics, like wave one, boom, right off it, right up into it. And he did that pretty much over and over that session, like just trying but falling. But you could see like the waves around here are very like long and mushy, and everyone kind of, if you don't have any instruction, like over the years you fall into this trap where you kind of like run out onto the face and you got to get yourself back to the power. He wasn't doing that. He was like literally like Slater, like coming back into the friggin' section, like
waiting for
the wave,
doing it right.
So that I saw him and I'm like all of a sudden I'm like,
yeah,
from like, and I don't think he was 8. It was the first day, so it was like, it was crazy. So then from right then I was like, all right, so that's a kid I got to keep my eye on. And then,
So he goes in the King of the Beach contest, and he's about to enter middle school, and he won his age group after 2 waves. His friend went down to the water and said, get out the water. And he's like, what? Is there a jellyfish? What? And he said, you already won. 2 waves, you won, okay? It's over. And then I had to leave, and then they take each age group and have the winners of all age groups surf together. So I'm back here at the house, and he shows up with 2 trophies. How'd you get 2 trophies? I'm King of the Beach. Oh, because by the time they had the final, the waves were so small, the older competitors just sank. They couldn't ride the wave, but he was so little, he was zip, zip, zip. And so he won 2 trophies. So then there was the King of the Beach, and then there was Quiksilver came, and they do East Coast tours, whatever, and they stop and blah, blah. And so they had Second Thoughts. You know that film with Timmy Turner? So they came, oh God, and they had the Indies Trader, the boat, and they brought it to New York City. How'd they get that here from Indo? I don't know. And so it was down by Chelsea Piers, and he was supposed to go with Dave Juan, and Slater was coming to town, and oh my God. So he didn't get taken into the city, but I promised I'd take him the next day, and so we go, and he just missed Slater and the whole thing, but we got to hang out on the Indies Trader. The guys that were on the crew, they were like, come on the boat, so that was fun. And then they're going to show Second Thoughts out at Gilgo in the parking lot, 7 o'clock at night. Drop a screen on the side of the bus, throw T-shirts off, have this thing. So they tell me about it at the surf shop, and I was trying to get, I could take photos of him here, but I didn't know how to get them from the computer to the Unsound website because they had a team and they want pictures of their team. But anyway, we go out to Gilgo, car packed with kids, and see the film. And Dave Juan introduces me to some guy in the parking lot, and he goes, this is who you want to send the pictures to. And I said, oh, do you run the website for Unsound? He goes, no. Jason Board, I'm Quiksilver's East Coast marketing manager. Oh.
So it was like the first time when I got on Quiksilver, I was like 13. There was a surf camp they had, like a day camp, and they had the Indies Trader come through, and it was in Montauk, and we show up, and we're like, can we get in this? Like, what's up? Can my son get in or whatever? And my mom says, and they're like, sign-ups were like 3 months ago. And we're like, sign-ups? We just heard about this shit like 3 days ago, you know? And somehow somebody from Unsound calls. He's like, oh, I get it, like whatever. He gets us in. I get to surf all day and meet everyone. Met Strider and Andy Ryan.
Then they had a thing in Montauk, a surf camp one day. And they told me about it again at the surf shop and told me to take them out there. So I drive out there, crack of dawn, and we get to the beach. We took Joey Spinelli with us, Bal's friend, and everybody's sitting around T-shirts, sitting around a circle, listening to Jason Board, sitting on a cooler, talking about it's not just about pro surfers. We need everybody. We need writers. We need photographers. You can work for us. You can work with us,
Preaching
okay?
a different type of gospel.
Right. So then I said, how do you get in this? And the guy's, well, you got to spend $50 at the surf shop, and then you get a pass here. And I'm like, I ain't got no $50 to spend at a surf shop. And they didn't tell me that. And so one guy said, oh, she was at the movie the other night. Let her in. Let this kid in. So they let him in. And then Andy Ryan was there. And I go sit on a chair over here, watch, and they go, okay, who's never been in who's never surfed in a contest? Who has surfed in a contest? And divvy up like that. Who's never surfed before? So Bal, I've been in a contest. And so they said, okay, and go out and surf. And the waves were really tiny. It was at Ditch Plains, and Strider was there. And he surfed and came in. And then they brought him over and they talked to him and told him to go out and do something. And they did it. And once I see these men standing there with their fists in the air, I'm like, something going on. And I'm going to embarrass my son. I need super glue on my seat because I'm going to jump up for him and be excited for him. But I didn't do that. So anyway, he came over and he said, Mom, these people want me to stay here for a barbecue tonight. Okay. And that's when Quick noticed him. And then he started getting a box of clothes.
And that led me into my first box of clothes, and then led me into like an 8-year relationship with them.
Yeah.
And that was like the first real sponsor that came through. But it was, even then we were like, what? You want to give us a free box of clothes? Like, okay, that's fucking epic. Like, all right, we'll see you later. You know, like, thanks. It wasn't like the sights of having a sponsor for 8 more years was not even a thing yet. From then on, we just did the ESAs, which got us to Outer Banks, and then Florida, and then NSSAs in New Jersey was like the next step up, and that got you to California, and that was like the mecca of the surf world, having everybody in that age group that surfed in a contest was there, and it was the same feeling you get at school, in the sense of like the camaraderie of everyone.
We had to get up at 4 and drive to Atlantic City and be there on the beach by 7, and driving home on a weekend from Jersey Shore was 6 hours, not 3 hours. And Montauk, there was no place here that was running those contests. It was either a 3-hour trip to Montauk, 3-hour trip to Jersey were the minimum, and then Florida and Outer Banks. And thank God for credit card, and that'll work, and we can pay it off and do this and that, and yeah.
Getting into the whole surf industry, like, started with doing these contests, like local contests or whatever, and it was always taking it as it comes. We're always learning the process of everything, you know, like this is all new for a long time until you kind of get the hang of it after doing it over and over again. But it was like my mom, like, I wasn't doing these other sports at the time, and this was the sport, so my mom was always able to take me, get off work, take me to the contest that's 2 hours away, and leave 4 in the morning or something, spend all day and drive 3 hours home in the traffic and like whatever. It was a lot longer than a hockey game or a football game or whatever, but it was at the beach, you know, we got to spend the whole day at the beach, and that's, I think, how she was able to really accept it and be and love it, you know. She is the biggest surf fan of all, you know. It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's wild that she was so down for it, you know, like this new adventure that we don't know about, but one thing we know is that it's on the ocean, you know, like that's enough, you know, that to keep the drive and keep like getting deeper into this world.
I don't even know if we did even NSA. We hadn't done any NSSA contests. Like, what is that? We heard of ESA. We found out about that. And so I started driving them out to Montauk and Gilgo and doing these ESA contests. And then somebody, TJ, says, well, you know, there's another contest thing. You know, it's called NSSA and it's down in Jersey. What? I got to get up when? And drive where? Atlantic City? Oh, my Lord. But I was lucky enough to have a job that afforded flexibility. I only had to work 3 days a week, and friends were generous in switching days. And so we started going down to Jersey and competing there. And that's, oh my gosh. So then that leads to Florida, NSSA East Coast Championships, where he did amazing. He won the air show, and that's that airplane trophy over there. He got 3 perfect 10s in this contest, which I don't think has been broken since in NSSA history. And then, so that earned him a spot in nationals. And I know nothing. My brothers ran track and played basketball. So, okay, he did great here. That's wonderful. Isn't this exciting? And that was maybe, I don't know, was it September? March? Anyway, whenever it was. And then you got finals in June in lowers, right? Well, I didn't know I had to do anything. And I think I started packing for lowers, and I found paperwork in the bottom of the duffel bag from Florida that you were supposed to mail in and sign him up, and I am ready to cut off my arm and put it in a box, if that's what it'll take to get this kid in the contest, because they already have all the heats made up. They got it all signed, sealed, delivered. And I am so ignorant of this scene, I didn't know. But we pulled it off.
Yeah.
And he got in. I couldn't believe what I had done, what I had not done. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. And then I mailed the thing to the directors in California, and they don't get it. Yeah. They're gone. They're on the road down the lowers. And then I call the postmaster, who happens to be a Long Island guy that used to surf, and say, can you find this envelope? Yeah. It was insane. It was insane.
But he ended up making it.
He ended up making it. Oh, and then Volcom came with their contest, and he took second in that. And they had a contest at every year Mother's Day, right? The final in California. And it was wonderful because this kid knew if he didn't do well in school, he wasn't going to be allowed to go to California. And that was a carrot for the whole school year. Thank you, Volcom. He had to do well or you're not going to go. And that was that. So he dropped roller hockey and tennis and football and soccer and just stayed in the water.
You know, I was able to like kind of win East or regionals like a few years in a row, and then I got to Easterns a few times, and then as soon as I hit California, I went for the VQS one year, and I just saw like every kid throwing their fins out the back, and I was just like, whoa, this is like, I'm not gonna make shit out here. I'm not gonna make a single heat. And it happened like that for a couple of years. Like the level of competition at home and there was not comparable. So it was like a whole new way of competing, it seemed.
Yeah, like a whole new challenge.
I was just remembering, I'm like, how does everyone in the water right now know how to throw their fins? And they're all like fucking 12 years old. Yeah. Like, I couldn't believe it.
There was a clip at that time, oh my God, somewhere on Surfline, and it's called Blizzard Barrels. And I am literally sitting on the cement at the top of the beach in a blizzard with the heat on, and he is in that water, and there are other people in, thankfully. But I'm like, good luck. I'm certainly not going to be able to be the one to save you. but that's where it was, February, and he's surfing in a blizzard.
Early on, I started surfing in the snow. I think the first time was when I was maybe 8 or 9, and I had to wear a 4.3 with a spring suit on top and a detached hood and boots and gloves, and it was so stiff, like I could barely put my arms down, you know, like but the waves were firing and nobody was out at Malibu, and there was about a foot of snow on the ground, and I like barely got out. I got like 2 waves, could barely cut down the line, and I was just amped to have gotten a wave. And then that was, I think, the first year, and then after that, the Quiksilver made I had XL women's suits. I had to wear the women's suits because it was the only ones that were close enough to the size, but they were all big in the chest, so it filled up with water constantly and it was freezing. But then after that, I got to Quiksilver hooked me up, and they started making Grom suits, and I was able to get some of my size.
And then you just were like, just down to go.
But yeah. So the winter thing was such an attraction at the start because every time I'm in school, I like, and there's snow on the ground. I know the waves are good, and it happens so often. I'm looking out the window and watching the wind go offshore, and I'm like, fuck, like so often, and it was like that the fact that it was good in the winter so often made the cold irrelevant. Like the cold was not a factor at all. It was just like the waves are good. You know, we don't have any waves all summer, so the waves are fucking good and we're out. And so the cold was never a problem. So now that cold is a problem for other people, I get to go and find places without anybody around, and that's become like the biggest like attraction to it. It's just no crowds, and the cold it feels good, you know. Like I love wearing a wetsuit. It feels like body armor and like just comfortable. And some of the best waves that are most uncrowded just seem to be in the cold water.
And then in March, they wanted him to go to Hawaii and surf with Keanu, Singh, and put the New York and the Hawaii together and see how they do.
Like his mom was like, should I let him go to Hawaii? And we're like, well, if you want to become a pro surfer, that's the only way it can happen. You know, he's lucky. He was fortunate enough to know like a lot of good people.
The first year I went to Hawaii, I think I was 13. And I believe I was 13. Yeah. First time I went to Hawaii, it was for a Quiksilver shoot. It was like a catalog shoot that they invited us on, and I was too young to go alone, so luckily enough, my mom, I was stoked to have my mom to come through and be a part of the trip. At first, I was to have her there, and then once we got there, I was like, damn, I'm so amazed by the ocean. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. I was like, mom's getting embarrassed by moms with the camera before I get in the water was like inevitable, I guess. But I don't know. I just remember because there was like I was with Keanu Singh, whose whole family is Hawaiian, and they're kind of showing us around, and my mom wants to know everything, and I just want to be in the water. So there's like, I don't know, I'm just like, less talk, more surf.
I gotta keep my balance and just keep dancing on it. We getting funky on the scene, and you know about it. Like a star on the screen, watch me tip all on it. Then baby, whether I'm high or low. Baby,
And my sister, God bless her, so now he's 13, and my sister, he turned 13 in September, and this is the following March, and I tell her about this trip, and he's going to Hawaii, and she goes, you're going with him? I'm like, I am? I don't travel, I don't do anything. What are you talking about? She goes, Mary, he's 13 years old. You're going with him. Okay. All right. Okay. So I told him, and he's like, Mom, I told everybody I'm going by myself. You are going by yourself. I'm not going to crash and stay with the Singh family. I'm not invited. No, I'll get my own place. I'm just going to be the lady on the plane next to you. That's all. Get my car, get my own place to stay. And I had an 18-year-old girl, daughter of a friend of mine. She's like, I want to go to Hawaii. I'm like, get a ticket. You can stay. I have a place to stay. I got the car. Just get a ticket. You can come. So I had an 18-year-old sidekick for the trip. And I remember we're pulling, obviously his first time to Hawaii, and we're we're starting the descent, and all I remember is seeing Diamond Head and his knee. You know, they go, and he's looking out that window, and his knee is going a mile a minute. I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And we had one cell phone to share. And anyway, he lands, and Tommy Asing picks him up, and I memorize his license plate because now I'm going to start stalking. Just turn up at the same beach and look for them and say what a coincidence. But because I told my son, you're on your own. But they take off, and then I get to stay, and it was an amazing trip.
And that's the trip that I know that he was like, every time you put the camera on him, he'd be like, Mom, get away.
So I'd have to just show up and say, I'd look for the truck and see it's in Haleiwa parking lot and walk on with a cup of coffee and go, oh, what a surprise. Hi, how are you? And his eyes would not come off the water. He would not take his eyes off the water to have any conversation with anybody. But one time he had the cell phone in his pocket and he totally forgot. And he went in Haleiwa. So came up to the spot I was saying, the good news or the bad news. But anyway, the first 3 days in Hawaii, Tommy picked him up, took him to the house. Keanu's on another island competing in SSA. So Keanu's not even in the house. And Bal's there with Tommy and Paul Ann and just unbelievably generous with their home and accommodating him. And Tommy was like, yeah, I don't know what to do with this kid. I mean, I'm going to throw him in a contest. He called me up. I'm going to throw him in a contest, a Hasa contest, a Haleiwa, if you want to come up tomorrow. And then he calls me 2 hours later and said, oh, they ran the contest today. He did fine. He took a few bums on the head, but yeah, he took third in his heat. Okay. And then Keanu would call home every night and say, Dad, you want the good news or the bad news? The good news is I advance. I'm staying on Kauai or wherever for the contest. But the bad news is I can't come home and meet Balaram. And so then Tommy went and dropped him off at Bongo's house. He goes, I don't know what to do with this kid anymore. Here, you take him. And so he's sleeping on the floor at Bongo Perkins' house just to hang out with him and do whatever he's doing. And such a friggin' initiation. Oh, my introduction to Hawaii. And then Keanu does come back. And then Bal gets to follow Keanu and paddle out at Pipe for the first time in his life because of who Keanu is and because he's being graced in like this. And what? I mean, kids from New York just don't get to go to Hawaii and paddle out at Pipe. It doesn't happen like that.
The Hail Mary podcast is produced by the Swell Season Surf Radio Network, recorded by outtakes from Ben Gulliver's recordings. Go to @HailMaryTheMovie for more information on Instagram. The film and podcast is presented by Fat Tire Beer and Electric Sunglasses, with support from Chili Surfboards, Unsound Surf Shop, and Volcom. All profits from the premiere will be going to the Clean Ocean Action Organization. For more information, go to www.cleanoceanaction.org.